Welcome to the Sports Startup Digital Debate Competition, brought to you by Pitch Madness and in partnership with the Sports Biz Group. My name is Tyler Kelly, founder of Pitch Madness, and we're really excited to bring you another 2 opening round debates. We have some amazing founders and judges for you to listen and learn from as they square off head-to-head to debate various topics in the sports industry. But before we get underway, a big shout out to our team. First up, Nadal Harvey, studio engineer who has brought all this amazing content to life, and Nick Hayden, founder of the Sports Biz Group and my partner in crime in getting this project off the ground. Lastly, the main goal of this tournament is to support and promote the amazing founders competing and helping them connect to valuable resources and potential investment to get their company to the next level. Additionally, please support our Pledge It campaign, raising money for the CDP COVID-19 Relief Fund going to help frontline workers in the healthcare industry. We've already raised $2,000. Help us get to our next goal of $10,000. Donate whatever you can. Please hashtag #DebateForCovid to spread the word. All right, are you now ready to introduce our founders? While this founder hangs out on a vineyard in the south of France, he decided he wanted to empower sports teams to bring the in-stadium experience to the comforts of his wine cellar. Give a toast to Adam Jones and Vici Sports.
Hey there, my name is Adam Jones, co-founder and CEO of Vici Sports. For all the teams that need to monetize fans outside the stadium, the same way they do fans inside the stadium, we've made FanFest, which is like Twitch in a box for sports teams with built-in merchandising and sponsorship slots. We launched FanFest way before the current crisis with Paris Saint-Germain across 10 cities in 3 continents, helping them reach their 50 million plus fans for 60 plus minutes on match day, before, during, and after games, effectively building them their own TV network where they could push their content and engage their fans. Now we're talking to 11 of the top 20 in the world, given the current crisis and stadiums being closed. Look forward to winning Pitch Madness.
This founder was curious as a cat during her days at ESPN to get the inside track on how creators would eventually monetize their content with brands. Make some noise for Tiffany Kelly and Cura Story.
Hi everyone, my name's Tiffany Kelly. I'm founder and CEO of Cura Story. Cura Story is a video tech marketplace where we connect videos by topics to brands for sponsorship. We're starting with athlete content creators and connecting their videos to health, wellness, and fitness brands for them to sponsor. Currently, influencer marketing is super annoying. From 200,000 videos that we've analyzed on Instagram, only 39% of them perform at expectation. Content creators don't want to customize, they don't want to kind of do all of these things. So we've actually built tech to where we project engagements, we project micro communities for the video, and we kind of connect that to the brands for brands to have their logo and brand awareness watermarked throughout the video. And so that's what we're doing, and super excited to have you guys kind of watch our debate.
Thank you, founders, for those introductions. Let's kick it over to our head referee, Nick.
Welcome, founders. Let's get ready to debate. We have 2 amazing startups ready to debate in the sports tech and analytics department. To get things started, let's determine who will receive the ball with the first question on the coin flip. So, Adam, would you like heads or tails?
Always tails.
Always tails. Well, it is heads. So, Tiffany, would you like to receive or would you like to defer?
Oh, we're definitely going to defer.
Defer. Okay. So, Adam, you're going to have 45 seconds to answer the question first. And then, Tiffany, you're going to have 45 seconds to answer your question. And then after that, you can go back and forth. So good luck to both of you. And if the judges could give me a 10 minutes on the clock, that'd be greatly appreciated. So with the first question, we're going to ask, how will talent agents respond to companies trying to connect players directly with fans and brands? Will you work with the agents or replace them?
So from a Vici TV / FanFest perspective, we're all about empowering anyone that has a global audience and that's producing content or involved in the production of content. And so the bottom line is we're actually already talking to agents of retired players, particularly in European football, that see this as an opportunity to not just monetize their audience, but give them content that they can watch, give them some new live moments, right, that they can kind of tune into. So we plan on working with them, especially since now that everyone is virtual, it's kind of exposed the gaps in some of the traditional tools like Instagram Live, crashing all the time. And
your response, Tiffany?
Yeah, I also want to say that our platform, we plan on working with agents. I think it's interesting kind of being in the tech space. People kind of always think tech replaces humans, but it doesn't. It kind of only enhances their job. So since we actually allow athletes to monetize their video through video sponsorship, we're a tech platform with video sponsorship, agents are just kind of pivoting their focus, right? Instead of focusing on monetization and distribution, where we handle that, you're actually focusing on the hard stuff, which is content creation, brainstorming, and kind of pivoting that way. So we're helping you out in the monetization aspect, and you can kind of focus on the brainstorming piece of everything.
Anything to add to that, Adam?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, monetization is key right now. So all the existing channels, great at building an audience, great at sometimes, if you don't have too many people join at the same time, engaging that audience, but haven't really today focused on monetization, right? And so that's certainly what we're hearing. So we built basically Twitch in a box for any big brand, starting with sports teams. And so I think that's the next opportunity for differentiation as people have now realized how easy it is to build that direct connection to their fans. Like now it's like, where's the money? I went live. Oh wait, it all went to Instagram? That's not cool. So that's what we're hearing. And I think that's a just huge opportunity.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement with working with agents. I think the agents that try to block tech platforms that are actually helping their clients won't play out in a positive way in the long run. So I think collaboration is always key.
I think this is one last point. Increasingly, you're also seeing obviously athletes invest as well, right? So in many cases, it's an opportunity for them to, not only are they getting exposed via their agents to these new platforms, but they're actually getting exposed to potential deals and life after the sport and all that. So I think strategically working with agents makes sense.
Great. We'll move to the next question. So, should there be any age limit for when an athlete can monetize their personal brand? Tiffany, you're going to lead off that question.
Yeah, I don't think there should be an age limit. We're in an age where, 5-year-olds have crazy followings just with social media. Obviously, if you are a minor, I think the discretion does kind of fall on your parents and kind of that being figured out. And if the client or the athlete is okay with monetizing and they're a minor and their parents say it's okay, then that's totally cool. I don't think we should cap exposure and monetization at a certain age.
Adam, your point?
Largely agree. And I would actually even say, parents are great, but the reality is, my mom, I'm actually quarantining my mom in the south of France right now. It's kind of random, but she just made the comment wow, this TikTok thing, didn't even know what it was. Wow. And the reality is, if I were 6, I would have already been living there for the last 6 months as an American, right? Even earlier or even longer if I lived in another part of the world. So absolutely believe that, really anyone with a brand, anyone that's built a following, anyone that's that compelling should have the right to monetize their audience. And certainly athletes that are driving an audience that is creating billions of dollars of value for other entities, especially them. But Yeah, I think it's actually pretty broad. I think there should be kind of wide latitude even for parents that can't spell TikTok.
Anything else to add to that, Tiffany?
No, I think we're in agreement again. You shouldn't have an age limit. Just monetize if you have a following, and of course,
I said screw the parents.
of course, to the discretion of the parents. I think if you are a minor, your parents are making decisions.
All right, to the next question. Do you think teams will eventually build more tools to own their distribution channels and rely less on third-party distributions? So, Tiffany, I'll let you go with that one.
Oh, I'm going first again. Cool. I honestly think that we're past the days where brands are expecting users to come to them. So I think that brands should heavily rely on their own distribution channels and meeting their target market, meeting the users where they are. And that's on TikTok, that's on Instagram, it's on YouTube, Twitter, all of these platforms that currently exist. And content is king. Like, that's where we're at. Content marketing takes a long time, but if you can kind of win in that space, then you will have longevity for a really long time as a brand. So owning your distribution channels is extremely important.
Yeah, so we're with Vici FanFest. We're in talks with 11 of the top 20 largest sports teams in the world, soccer teams in the world. And it's not, are we going to do it? It's like, we're doing it now. So like $3 billion FC Barcelona, they're building an OTT. Why? Because their mandate is to make $1 from all 300 million of their fans every month, right? Like, they want the recurring revenue. They see the opportunity to go direct. Even today, like, they've sold the rights to their live matches. At the same time, they have an entire studio show streaming on Twitter with Gen Z going direct to consumer. So the largest teams, I think, across all sports, but especially teams that have reached local saturation in their market and that need to monetize globally, increase revenue per fan out of their home market to keep growing, they're already doing it. It's not an if-when thing. It's like last week. I know specifically Barcelona has a bunch of initiatives launching this month, but all the top clubs are doing that. And you're starting to see it in the States as well.
Anything to add to that, Tiffany?
Not much. I think I like how you mentioned streaming, Adam. I do think having your own distribution platforms that you can essentially own is key. Like, content is where everything is at, and meeting your users where you are is gonna help brands win in the long run.
Great. So the next question is in regards to distribution. So as Instagram, TikTok, and other major social media platforms integrate shopping directly into their posts, do you think, won't teams and individuals be able to do this themselves? And do they need a startup company's help to facilitate that?
Yeah, I assume that's me. Yeah. How many things have you bought on Instagram?
0.
Come back to yeah, I'm also at 0.
Like, it sucks. And I actually love Instagram. And I love like, it's a huge point of emphasis that they're investing in now. I know Twitter is also looking at stuff. Love TJ at Twitter, but like, it has not. No one's really cracked it yet. And so I think that's actually the ideal circumstances for a startup. That's why startups exist, right? The reality is, shopping, commerce, it's a priority, but how it's manifested to date has been very poor, and kind of an afterthought. And so I think that's an ideal conditions for a startup.
So I would actually, I haven't bought anything on IG shopping, but you're basically asking if IG shopping is just gonna take away, or if that's just gonna be the main thing of affiliate links, which I actually don't agree, because the only thing that you can sell through IG shopping is physical goods. So you're basically saying, hey, content creator, you can only monetize anything physical on your post, which I don't know percentage wise how many people that is, but it's a small number, right? To kind of box content creators in and say, hey, the only affiliate links you can actually post in IG shopping are physical goods, when a lot of them are actually monetizing so many other things within their content. So I don't see IG shopping being the only player here. And because of that, right, people use link trees. Like, they're still trying to monetize on social outside of IG shopping, because that's just the natural like flow, right, of content. People are naturally kind of hitting different places, links that they're actually going to. So I don't see IG putting links within the bios, because that actually encroaches upon their business model. So because of that, startups will continue to exist to actually help them monetize their content that's outside of physical goods, which is the complete opposite of what IG shopping is.
Anything to add to that, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to give some credit to these platforms. Like in the last week, Instagram rolled out donations and pages can take tips and that kind of thing. But the bottom line is a lot of these things are overdue. It shouldn't have taken a pandemic to roll out these kind of critical components of the infrastructure. And so again, I think all of that aspect of the experience, as the focus goes more towards virtual live experiences, and now people naturally want to see how they make money from them, I think that becomes a natural opportunity for a startup.
Great responses. So that's our 10-minute mark, but we do have an overtime question that we just unveiled. So we'll have this start with Tiffany. So do you agree or disagree that the power is now with the players and the teams are secondary?
So I am for star power all the way. I think before social media kind of just became what it is, teams, just their entire brand awareness was tied with the athlete. And now that individuals are kind of becoming what people are following, the power has shifted to players. And I think it's why you've seen just a hiring frenzy in content creation with front offices and teams, because they're starting to understand that they really need to differentiate their brand awareness away from the athlete. And the only thing that they really can touch, like, and monetize it is talking about the athlete as an athlete, not their personal life, not outside, because that's actually that's the athlete can monetize that, not the team. So I definitely think the power is shifting to the player, and I think the teams that survive are going to be the ones that can actually differentiate their brand away from the players.
Great, Adam, and your answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think I largely agree, but I do think the only additional nuance there is, some teams are just really, really, really big, and so if you are a smaller, player, so to speak, on that really big platform, then I think it makes more sense to more closely align your brand with the platform to monetize, and then leverage that afterwards. But largely agree. I mean, the reality is, people care about their favorite player, right? In many cases, and following them. You see this with, La Liga, for instance, in the States, right? Really keying in on the Mexican players that play in Spain, because there's a high degree of resonance with their fan base in the United States, and that crossover story being a core part of the narrative and reaching Hispanic viewers. So, I think at the end of the day, the power lies with the players, but if a team has one of the largest platforms in the world, you got to take advantage of that as well.
Great responses. So that's all the time we have. Thank you for a well thought out debate. And for all those listening, use the hashtag #DebateForCovid. Let us know who you think won that round. But that wraps up the sports tech and analytics for the Sweet 16 round. Thank you.
And let's introduce our judges. First up, Thomas Alomes, head of North America for Sports Tech World Series. Next, John Budish, Vice President of Business Development at Wave. And lastly, Brian Zwerner, founder at Beyond the Game Network. Let's kick it over to our head referee, Nick.
All right, so that was an amazing debate that we just had with Tiffany and Adam for the sports tech and analytics section for the Sweet 16. And now we're going to go over to the judges for their votes and analysis. So, Thomas, could you please provide some analysis followed by your vote on who you think won that round?
First of all, thanks to Tiffany Adam. Thank you for sharing your views on that. It was actually incredibly hard to pick between you. I think you were both on the money in most of your answers and in furious agreement, which was difficult for us as judges to split between you. I think points around people actually monetizing athletes as basically their own kind of masters when it comes to monetizing their audience. I think that's a really big issue. I would say that for me, on the final question is probably what it came down to. And Tiffany made some points around the trends that athletes are the ones being followed by fans. So the idea that a fan will follow a player, follow LeBron, and it doesn't matter what team he plays for. Therefore, really what centers is just with the individual athlete, and that's who should be able to monetize what they do. The reality is, though, not everyone's LeBron. So I actually went, my vote was with Adam because I think there are teams, especially outside of a US context and looking globally, where the team really is the main platform. And so being able to tap into not just the athlete as an individual, but the team as a platform. So that's for me where I kind of split between. And Adam seemed to have a little bit more of a global perspective, which I really appreciated, because I truly believe that if you just focus your product or your vision on one geography, even if that is the US and the biggest sports market in the world, you're still severely limiting yourself in what you're able to achieve.
Thank you for that, Thomas. So that means it's one vote for Adam. And now we're going to move to John for your analysis and vote.
Sure. Yeah, just to echo Thomas's sentiments there, I thought it was a really good debate, and I actually listened to it a couple times and ultimately switched my vote after the second time. So just to let you guys know how great I thought it was. I thought, from an overall impact, I thought the most interesting thing I heard was Adam's point on FC Barcelona and their 300 million fans, and specifically their monetizable goals for that. I just thought that was a really interesting piece of insight, and something as you start to think about other fandoms in the world, specifically in the States, like you think about the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys and how they can activate that. That really had my head going. Alternatively, I thought, Tiffany made some really interesting points across the board. I liked a lot, when in her first response, where she talked about technology not necessarily being competitive, but more of an enhancement. I liked her point about virtual goods. And the fourth question, I thought both you guys did a really good job with the question too, and I think it was pretty similar. And so for me, I was almost thinking about scoring this from a boxing standpoint. So I had 2 rounds Adam 10-9, 2 rounds Tiffany 10-9, 1 round Adam 10-8. And so in the overtime question, that was going to be my differentiator. And I thought that, and ultimately picked Tiffany. I really liked her point about teams differentiating their brand from the player. I think that's a huge challenge, but I think also it's a way that they have to be thinking about their self going forward. So again, my vote is for Tiffany.
Thank you for that, John. So now we have a tiebreaker. So we have 1 vote for Adam and 1 vote for Tiffany. And we're going to have our final vote. So Brian, you are in the hot seat with this. So could you provide your analysis and your pick for who is going to go to the Elite 8?
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick. I'm excited to be in the hot seat, and I'm going Simon Cowell style. It's a straight scoop from me. These other guys were too nice, these other judges. First of all, Tiffany, excellent presentation. You had a lot of presence. You gave us a nice backdrop. The video looked good. It was all put together in a way I like. Adam, man, I know you're traveling. You're not in your normal environment. But, dude, it was like blurry. Your phone blumped out in the middle of this thing. It was a hot mess. All right? We got to get that stuff straight if you go on to the next round. Second of all these answers, they were just way too general for me. I didn't get to learn enough about who you were, what your business was. You got to find ways, whoever goes on to that next round, find ways to bring in stuff from your business, your life, your experiences into your answers. I don't want just general answers. I want to know about you and your business next time. And last point I got to make here before I give my answer, Nick. This is supposed to be a debate, man. I want Eminem in a rap battle next time. You guys were way too nice. You agreed with each other. Question after question after question. I want to hear some fire. I want to hear some controversy. You can't just agree with each other and get my vote. That's not how this is going to work. Okay, so it's time for my vote. It was a tough one, but overall, based on the strength of the presentation and the answers, I am going with Tiffany as my winner. Tiffany, you get my vote for the next round. I hope you heard everything we said. We want to hear a stronger performance in round 2.
Well, John, Thomas, and Brian, that was a great analysis and great commentary on that. And congratulations to Tiffany. You just earned a spot in the Elite 8. Congratulations for that. And good fought out debate with Adam. So that wraps up this Sports Tech and Analytics in the Sweet 16. Thank you for everybody. And use the hashtag #DebateForCovid to let us know who you think is going to win next round. Thank you.
This founder has sports agents waking up in cold sweats as she's cutting out the middleman and giving athletes, coaches, and teams the power to connect through technology. Give it up for Ainsley McAllister and Uru Sports.
Hi, my name's Ainsley McAllister, and I'm the founder of Uru Sports. After playing field hockey at the University of Michigan, where I was a multi-year captain and All-American, I went on to play professionally for 7 different teams across the world. It was a life-changing experience, and one that I wish was easily accessible for every elite athlete. Though, in my case, it was far from easy. There are over 7.2 million teams looking to recruit, and there are over 95 million athletes who would love to play. Though currently there is no transparent marketplace to connect and inform these groups. We've built a solution to this global disconnect. Uru Sports, a sports platform full of information, opportunities, and connections. No borders, just sports.
From sports agent to agent of change, this founder is on a mission to empower the athlete to understand their market value through data. Make some noise for Josh, Abraham, and Prophet X.
Hi guys, how's everyone doing today? Hope everyone's staying safe. My name's Joshua Abraham. I'm a former NBA player agent and VP of basketball operations who worked at Rosenhaus Sports Representation and the founder and CEO of ProfitX AI. Wanted to give a special shout out to Nick and Tyler for putting on this great event and supporting the COVID-19 relief efforts. Really honored and excited to be selected to compete against all of these great founders. ProfitX is a real-time AI-powered index created for professional athletes, teams, and fans in all sports across the world. We provide powerful real-time performance and financial insights to help maximize the potential of an athlete and to help sustain a winning culture within a professional franchise. Our Fandex empowers the voice of the fans, the biggest stakeholder in the sports ecosystem, by giving them a platform to have their voice be heard on how their favorite teams are constructing their rosters and the overall team strategy. Good luck to everyone, and see you on Thursday.
Thank you, founders, for those introductions. Let's kick it over to our head referee, Nick.
All right, welcome, founders. Let's get ready to debate. To get started, we're going to flip a coin to determine who will kick off first. So, Ainsley, would you like heads or tails?
Heads.
Heads. It is tails. So, Josh, would you like to receive or would you like to defer?
I'll defer.
Awesome. So, Ainsley, you're going to start it off. You're going to have 45 seconds to respond. And then, Josh, you're going to have 45 seconds to respond on your end. And then you can go back and forth. So, we put 10 minutes on the clock. Best of luck to you, founders. Here's the first question. Are you for or against the need for athletes needing sports agents?
That's a great question. So I'm not against athletes needing sports agents or using sports agents, but I want athletes to have full control of their own career and not not need to put it completely in the hands of someone else, especially when that other person is actually working for the team. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that sports agents across the world and overseas internationally are actually working for the team. So therefore, they have an unbiased view of what is actually best for the athlete. What's wrong with this agent model? It's really these agents are gatekeepers to the information and talent. The agents' connections and opportunities that they offer the athlete are really reliant on their own personal network, and they sometimes might withhold extremely valuable information from the athlete. Also, with the agent being the middleman, just this whole recruiting process is so much slower. And lastly, the agents can be really expensive. So while there's tons of great agents out there, the sports recruiting model really just needs to be completely revamped.
Josh, and your counter to that?
Yeah, I'm definitely for sports agents, although I have a different perspective on it. Definitely from the major sports league aspect of it, I think agent experience is invaluable because athletes initially lack that experience when they enter into their playing career. And without the agents, the leverage is tilted in favor of the teams, and usually the teams can control those situations. My job as a sports agent is to ensure the success of the athlete on and off the court, and that's how we create leverage. So the relationships that I cultivate with executives are built through trust and transparency, and that gives me the data ammunition that I need to put the athletes in the best position possible to find the best team fit for his skill set and to maximize his financial value.
Ainsley, anything to counter to that?
Yeah, so we've been talking to tons of athletes across all levels, and one athlete that we talked to, Devereaux Peters, she was a third pick in the WNBA in 2012. So you would think that she would be really represented fully by these agents. This is just a prime example. She ended up having a bad experience with this team, but because the agent knew that they place players there every year, they didn't want to jeopardize their relationship with that team and recruiter. So if they're not necessarily batting for the third pick in the WNBA, who will they bat for?
Anything to counter that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think you have to think about it. You only get paid when the athlete gets paid. So you're not really concerned with what the team aspect of it is, as long as it only fits with the athlete's skill set and that they're going to do everything in their ability to help ensure that player reaches their full potential, and that ensures that both sides come out with a winning outcome.
So I think the fact that they only get paid when the athlete gets paid, and you're looking at it from the perspective of you were a sports agent from the U.S. who got paid based off from the athlete, right? These teams are actually, or the agents overseas the model is completely flip-flopped, and the teams the agents might withhold information about an athlete's deal with this higher salary that would be a much better fit for that athlete on an overall scale, except for the pay. So why there's a lot of incentive for an agent to withhold a lower salary that they would get housing, visas, a lot of non-tangible financial benefits for these agents, but for the athletes, it's extremely valuable.
Cool. That's a good segue to the next question. So, should fans play a larger role deciding what players a team should choose? First one on this question would be Josh.
Yeah, I'm definitely for the fans having the ability to give the teams input on what players they should choose. My first reason is the fans are the biggest stakeholder in the sports ecosystem. They're the motivation behind teams, and the teams are nothing without the fans. And without the fan support, the teams are just not as valuable. If you look at the Chicago Bulls, Jerry Reinsdorf bought the team in 1985 for $16 million, and now they're worth $3.2 billion. The only reason that is the case is because Michael Jordan drove up the value of the team by winning 6 NBA championships. He sold out stadiums, he sold jerseys, and he built a loyal fan base for the Chicago Bulls. And if you don't have MJ, you don't have fans.
Ainsley, in your response?
I completely disagree on this because coaches are experts, and that's what they're paid to do. They have the insight on the team dynamics of what's actually causing the success that no fan has. I mean, fans are really easily swayed by the marketing and propaganda, so that like really fits into some players who are quiet and humble and really let their game play, but not really out there yelling, will be missed, because so much of a team's success is really not based on the actual talent or stats or this marketing propaganda, but the cohesiveness on a team. And so, like, really, if you're arguing that fans should have a larger role, then I'd argue that they'd need really insight on what's going on behind the scenes and behind closed doors of this top level sports, which is never going to happen.
Anything to add to that, Josh?
Yeah, my thoughts are this. Number one, you have to, the only way to ensure the team's success is if the team knows what they're doing, first and foremost, right? And that's never a guarantee. To build a sustainable and winning roster, you have to have transparency at all levels, and the fans are not lacking education on the sports these days. There are a lot of knowledgeable fans out there that if we provide a platform for them, then they can have input into it, and you don't sell out stadiums, you don't sell jersey sales if you don't have a sustainable winning roster that is set up for long-term success.
Great.
So
And then
Josh,
we'll segue to the next
I have
question.
a comment. Yeah, sorry. So
Okay.
So Josh, I know that you played ice hockey over professionally in South Korea, right? A team would have never known, all those fans would have never been able to vote for you, even though you were a good fit for the program, right? So I think there's a lot that of when you talk about transparency, that's just not accessible in the sports world right now. And so I think that's one of the problems across kind of the sports world is this lack of information. But I think coaches and people who are paid to have that information are in the best position to, rather than fans.
Yeah, and listen, teams are always gonna keep their competitive advantage, and that's kind of something that we're trying to do is create more transparency for the fans so that they can have a larger voice into their construction of their team rosters and have a voice. Because if the fans aren't happy, then the team is obviously doing something wrong. So that's what I would add on to that as well.
I think fans aren't ever happy if a team is losing, and coaches know what makes a team win. That's what, like, some of the best teams don't have the superstars. It's made of amazing personality and cohesiveness on a team that you fans will not be able to read and place together. So
yeah, but there's only one team that wins a title, so the other teams are always doing something wrong. So I would counter with that.
Well, I think you just made a point exactly for mine. The one team wins, right? And so they need to put together the best roster based on a bunch of transparent information that experts have the best insight on, which is the coaching staff and the experts. So
It's a great debate. That's actually all the time we have, but we are going to put in an overtime question. So if you put some more time on the clock, and the final question would be, has technology made the relationship between teams and players simpler or more complicated?
is this for, sorry, who is this for?
Ainsley, that's for you first.
I would say overall it's simpler, but like really sports recruiting is still of the Stone Ages, and the technology has left it completely untouched. There's no standards that really streamline information for teams and players across the world. A lot of the tech today like focuses on player improvement or gathering stats, which is actually incredible, but an athlete really improves the most when they're placed in the right fit competitive environment, and that agent completely personality, or that agent model has completely been left untouched, and not kept up to really the speed of markets and other technologies.
Josh, your point?
Yep. I think technology has both its pros and cons. I mean, we all have a love-hate relationship with data and technology, but I think when you understand the people that are using the technology, the strengths and the weaknesses and the problems that need to be solved, that's when it can be most successful. I think technology helps reinforce the decision-making process, but it doesn't always answer all of the questions, and it never will, because it's not the only driver in winning championships. The outcome of the game will always be determined by the players, and it's never going to be dictated by technology. But what it can do is create more insights into the best plan of action during the season and during the off season.
Yeah, I really like that point, because I think the insight into the league and actually getting the insight from the actual players is going to be completely a game changer when it comes to changing how the relationship between the teams and players actually communicate. So I think really we do need to empower athletes to make better decisions by being able to connect easily with this global community of athletes who've done and played there.
Great. Anything else to add to that, Josh?
No, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, that was a great debate between the both of you. That wraps up the Sweet 16 for the Sports Tech and Analytics Department. So thank you for that. Everyone tuning in, use the hashtag debate for COVID to decide who you think won that one. So thank you, founders, for a great debate.
And let's introduce our judges. First up, Diana Melancio, VC at Wise Ventures. Next, Kyle Eddins, CEO of E2 Generations. And lastly, Andre Flulellen, founding member of Beyond the Game Network. Let's kick it over to our head referee, Nick.
All right, that wraps up an amazing debate between Josh and Ainsley, and now we're on to the judges for their analysis and picks. So let's start with Deanna. Could you please provide some analysis and your vote for this decision?
Sure. So I thought both made for really great points, and I believe the answers to all questions, particularly the first two, is really somewhere in between. Ultimately, I found Ainsley's points more compelling arguments for each of the questions. In general, I sided with her viewpoint for her focus on sort of like the athlete founder first perspective, as well as the call for greater data and transparency so that the system is equitable to all parties. And I will say that I thought the question regarding fans versus coaches, which I believe was the second question, is an interesting one, given that the fans are the ultimate stakeholder. And I think that social following and the athlete's ability to engage fans will come more and more into play with regards to teams choosing which athletes. All things equal, the athlete's ability to garner attention, therefore ticket sales, therefore merch, therefore sponsorships, will ultimately be a decision maker, especially as sports and interactivity between fans continue to increase. So that's my 2 cents.
Great. And your vote for this one would be?
Is Ainsley.
Ainsley. Great. So Ainsley has 1 vote. And now we'll move over to Kyle for your analysis and your decision.
Great, thanks. So Ainsley, I felt like the responses were more concise and focused. I think that is fairly evident also in the product focus and the market that she's trying to go after. I think she has a more narrow problem that she's trying to solve, which seems to be much more focused on the athlete. So I think that going after a more concise market, especially early on, is going to be something that will allow you to move the company forward. But I do warn against scalability of that as far as a two-sided marketplace and being able to take that, cross boundaries, whether it's international. It seems like there's some different challenges or problems that you're trying to solve based off of the way that the agent model is structured. So I did like the agent model or the agent question that you provided. I do think that is an area that is ripe for disruption. I think that there's so much technology that could be leveraged to remove some of those soft skills that come from that. So I'd be curious to see how you can take advantage of that as well, and opening up some of the conversations and boundaries. Josh, I feel like you have a lot of breadth in your experience, which I think would be super beneficial. I think some of it just needs to be honed. I felt like you were coming from a number of different angles with your responses. In particular, the fan engagement one, I felt was a little all over the place. I think that's a tough angle to take to say that the fans are going to be able to drive and dictate how some of the decisions are made on and off the field. I think Ainsley was pretty spot on with her response around what information would be able to get to them. I do think that fan engagement in general is also ripe for disruption. I'm just not sure that it's going to be so much from a decision-making standpoint. But at the end of the day, the fans are the drivers of the revenue, and if you don't have engaged fans, then everything else kind of starts to fall apart from there. So I did like your response, Josh, to the final question. I think it was a little more evident that you had some technical background, and I think if you can merge some of the experience from both perspectives as well as some of the technical breadth, I think you have the opportunity to go after some big problems. But I caution you to maybe narrow some of the focus around what you're trying to solve or the problem that you're trying to solve initially, and not necessarily get over your skis too early on that. So at the end of the day, I chose Ainsley as my victor for the debate, but I think both are coming from very different angles, and I think that was evident in the debate. So that was fun to watch.
Great. So that was 2 out of the votes for Ainsley, although we would still like to get another analysis from our final judge, Andre, who's a former athlete and could provide some great analysis. So could you provide some analysis on what you thought on that and your vote as well?
All right. So here's the thing. When things are close, the way I kind of look at it is like whose answer I hated the most instead of whose answer I liked the most, right? So when it comes to that, so I looked at all 3 answers, and so I think Josh came with a more real-world experience in terms of being an agent in the first question. So I got to give the first question to Josh. Then I'll skip to the third question. The third question was kind of a draw, but as a former NFL player, like I'm so scared of data for players, okay? Because just think about it like this. Like, you see all these sensors and talk about, a player has a likelihood of becoming injured because of this data that's out there that's in my shoes or whatever. Like, what if a team decides to cut me because the data is saying that I'm going to be hurt next week, right? Like, that scares me. But they on that question, they kind of had a draw because they both agreed on that question. So I got to give them a draw. So then we go to the second question. And the second question is, unfortunately, it's where Josh lost me, man. It's unfortunate because, dude, as a former player, and now I'm a VC investor, right? Like, as a former player, if a fan had a choice if I'm going to play or not, like, I'm going to go into the stands and go try to find that fan. Like, seriously. Like, I want a fan see, and it's kind of the same thing as like you don't want the crowd making the decisions for the team, like for the immediate team. It's kind of like in VC investing too. Like I get scared, man, when everybody says this is the next hot thing and this is the next good thing and everybody should do this. Like I kind of get freaked out about that. So Josh, man, you freaked me out by saying that the fans should be the ones making the decisions if I'm going to play or not. Because the fans have no clue, right? The coaches and Ainsley did a better job of saying that the coaches and the experts should make those decisions. So because I hated your answer more than Ainsley's, I'm going with Ainsley. My bad, Josh.
That was a great recap, but so congratulations, Ainsley. You've got a ticket to the Elite Eight. Congratulations. It's a well-thought-out debate by Josh. Thank you for that. So that wraps up the sports tech and analytics for the Sweet 16. Thank you so much, Kyle, Andre, and Deanna, for that great responses and analysis. Quite entertaining. Thank you, and we'll see you next round.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. Hope you had some fun and learned a few things. Check back in with us tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for some more Founder Debate action, as well as every night this week at that same time. You can also follow the live bracket on the Pitch Madness website to see how founders progress throughout the tournament, as well as please continue to support our Pledge It campaign so we can raise money for the CDP COVID-19 Relief Fund, going again to support those frontline workers in the healthcare industry. Have a great evening. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.